evening and welcome to NTA News Top Table, where we go the extra mile to bring you the Nigerian story as we keep our lenses trained on developing events and seek expert opinions on new trends and policy impacts. In addition, we'll be in key locations around the world to keep you up to speed on world affairs as they unfold. Tonight, fight against insurgency. Chief of Army Staff visits Yobe to bolster troops' resolve.
I think as Nigerians, we need to come together more than ever before to see that we checkmate all this myriad of insecurity. Because if we don't, at some point, we will not have a country to live in.
And from the Judiciary, Prosecuting Counsel tenders audio-visual evidence as trial of the leader of the proscribed IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, continues. No smoke without a pope. Conclave begins in Rome as Catholics await traditional signal heralding the choice of a new head of the church. Also tonight, we will be tracking new developments in the world of business as African countries begin to activate intra-continental trade, while Bade Adeleye is our man on the sport for sports. As we see on this shift, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Henry John, and this is News Extra. Welcome. We'll begin from the Sistine Chapel tonight as black smoke has been seen from the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican City, where cardinal electors are gathered to choose the new Catholic pontiff following the death of Pope Francis last month. Ekene Ndule reports that this signifies a pope has not been elected. The Sistine Chapel is under lockdown for the voting process. Even phone signals around the chapel have been blocked. Let's hear more.
Black smoke has been seen from the chimney of the Sistine Chapel, meaning a new pope has not been elected. The cardinals gathered in the Vatican will therefore continue the process to elect a new head of the Catholic Church tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, cardinals will have breakfast around 6:30 a.m. ahead of Mass, before more votes scheduled for later in the day. In a ritual dating back to medieval times, 133 cardinal electors walked slowly into the chapel before taking an oath of perpetual secrecy. The chapel's doors were slammed shut, allowing the cardinals to hold their first ballot to look for a successor to Pope Francis, who died last month. No pope has been elected on the first day of the conclave for centuries, and voting could continue for several days before a winner receives the necessary two-thirds majority to become the 267th pontiff. There will be only one ballot on the first day. Thereafter, there can be as many as 4 votes a day. The only expected signal from the cardinals during the conclave will come in the form of smoke from a chimney atop the chapel as the clerics burn their ballots. Black smoke will mark an inconclusive vote. White smoke and the pealing of bells will signal that the 1.4 billion member church has a new leader. Earlier at a mass in St. Peter's Basilica, before entering the conclave, the cardinals prayed that God would help them find a pope who would exercise watchful care over the world. The dean of the College of Cardinals, Giovanni Battista Re, who presided over the mass, urged his peers to set aside every personal consideration in choosing the new pontiff and keep in mind only the good of the church and humanity. In Abuja, Ekene Ndule, NTA News.
Many thanks, Ekene. And joining me now from Senegal to discuss proceedings at the papal conclave is Archbishop Emeritus, Catholic Archdiocese of Abuja, John Cardinal Onayekon. Many thanks, Your Eminence, for joining us.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I'm here in Dakar, Senegal, at the meeting of the bishops of West Africa.
Fantastic. Let's talk about what's happening at the Sistine Chapel. With the black smoke seen at the chapel this evening in the Vatican City, signaling no pope has been elected, how long can we expect the election process to last?
Well, we all should expect, we should have expected a black smoke today, because it's very rare that the Pope will be elected in the first day of voting. But please, our viewers should realize that what happens now, the present process for conclave, it was not what it was when Jesus appointed St. Peter. The Pope is the successor of St. Peter. Peter was appointed by Jesus himself, and he became the first Pope. After him, other popes were just emerged from among the apostles and in the church. In those days, the Pope was practically a candidate for martyrdom within a couple of years, because all the first popes ended up dying. We have to keep that in mind, because what we see today, the pageantry we see today, is a result of long years. What we see today is probably about 500 years old. And it is interesting that the process has continued as it has been for quite a long time from now. This is an event that has no parallel anywhere from my own experience. I was lucky, and thank God.
Exactly, Your Eminence. I was going to ask you, because I know you have entered the conclave before. Can you please tell us the qualities?
I was in the conclave in 2013. I was in the conclave in 2013.
Yes, we know that.
And I can say that the foremost thing that the conclave brings to you is that it is a spiritual event. Well, as you can see, the bishops, the cardinals are all dressed as if they are going for a religious purpose, liturgical garments. And that is to emphasize the fact that whatever they do there is purely spiritual. And that's why the cardinals, some days ago, asked all the Catholics in the world to please continue to pray fervently for the cardinals who are going for the election. Your colleague did a very good job when he was talking about what happened this morning in the special mass for the election of a new pope. It was very accurate and very correct. Now, I want to stress, people outside think of the conclave more or less as election of the pope. Yes, a pope will emerge, but please, this is an election with a difference. An election in which all the voters are also candidates. Every one of those cardinals there can emerge as the Pope. The vote is cast with oath before God. Interestingly, the vote takes place in the Sistine Chapel. The Sistine Chapel is a special church within the Vatican, and conclaves always take place there. When we did it is clearly, as you put in your vote, the vote is put in a chalice, and then it is before the painting of Michelangelo of the Last Judgment. And you actually vote with an oath that the Lord God, who will judge you at the last day, is watching what you are doing for the good of the church and for no other reason. No campaigns, no lobbying in the place. Now, the main purpose, therefore, the main business of the conclave is to find ways and means of discovering what the Holy Spirit wants, whom God wants as the Pope. And we believe that with that spiritual atmosphere, the will of God actually emerges. At the end of the day, whoever emerges as the Pope becomes our Pope, successor of St. Peter, Bishop of Rome, Vicar of Christ, pastor of the Universal Church. And he will be supported by the prayers of the whole Catholic Church throughout the time that he is Pope. Those who are not Catholics may not understand this, but if you are a Catholic, you know that no matter where you go in the world, the Holy Mass must always mention the name of the Pope, which means the Pope is getting prayers from all over the 1.4 billion Catholics in the world. Beyond his religious role, we know now that the Pope has become also a leader, a religious, spiritual leader in the world. To some extent, he also has some political clout. All this was quite clear when we noticed what happened at his funeral. It was certainly a special funeral for a great man with so many heads of states and all the leaders of the major religious bodies, not just Christians, non-Christians. I saw some good friends of mine who are Sikhs, who are Hindus, who are Buddhists, not to talk of Muslims. So this is a great event, and it is also right that the NTA is putting as a first matter on your root news today when we start the conclave.
All right, thank you very much, Your Eminence. Indeed, you have, answered all the questions on the minds of, all the Catholics and non-Catholics watching what's happening at the conclave. But just so we can round off, because of time, sir, when are we likely going to expect a new pope?
Well, if we are lucky, we might get a new pope tomorrow, because tomorrow there will be 4 votes, 2 in the morning, and if still no pope emerges, then 2 voting will take place in the evening. When we went into conclave in 2013, it was at that 5th vote, that is the second vote of the second day, that the Pope emerged. Whether it will happen again like that this time, or whether we will still have to wait until Friday for another 4 votes, your guess is as good as mine.
Many thanks, John Cardinal Onayekon. We thank you for your time and, of course, sharing your insights with us. We do sincerely appreciate you. And, of course, look forward to the emergence of a new pope. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And keep praying for the cardinals. They need all our prayers. God will direct them.
We are praying,
and we are going to have a nice pope very soon. We are looking forward to it. God bless you in the studio. And
all right.
Thank
you so much, Your Eminence. Thank you so much, Your Eminence. All right, away from the Sistine Chapel now, looking at other issues back home. The federal government has signed a financing agreement for the value chain program in northern Nigeria to revolutionize the nation's agriculture sector. With the signing of the agreement, the implementation of the $158 million project begins immediately to support agricultural development and value addition for farmers in 9 states of the northern part of the country. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
The initiative is co-funded by the International Fund for Agricultural Development, the French Development Agency, and the government of Nigeria. And this signing of financing agreement, 8-year initiative validated on March 21, 2024, expected to reduce poverty, enhance nutrition, and better resilience of rural and most vulnerable population in the 9 northern states of Borno, Bauchi, Kanu, Katsina, Kebbi, Jigawa, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara.
While VCN draws lessons from such models, ours is not about replicating foreign templates. It is about what we can and must do here in our own land and with our own hands. A few weeks ago, we began laying the foundation for the construction of special agro-industrial processing zones across Nigeria, beginning in the north, specifically in Kaduna State. BCN will feed into the SAPZs. It will serve as a steady pipeline of raw materials and ensuring our processors no longer grow poor quality inputs. This synergy will shift us from exporting raw produce to exporting value-added goods, creating jobs, wealth, and industrial stability.
And BCN exemplifies the power of collaboration and shared vision in addressing the challenges faced by our farmers and rural communities. As Vice Chairperson of the IFAD Governing Council, I am confident that the VCN will deliver real impact, empower smallholder farmers, boosting productivity, and promoting climate-resilient, nutrition-sensitive, and inclusive value chains.
The program is expected to improve agricultural productivity and the overall well-being of smallholder farmers and women across the region.
The time we have sufficient jobs and our farmers are getting rewards from their farms, we are likely to see improvement in security situation in our country.
State like ours that has a lot of security challenges, we need the support on IDPs because that support will create a financial ability for those people in that position.
we are ready to work with the IFAD, and IFAD is not new in the agricultural sector in Nigeria, and we know how good they are and what they can do.
We'll do this collaborating with the state. The states are very critical in the implementation of this project, and that's why you were also able to see the participation of the governors in this meeting.
After the signing of the joint roadmap for accelerated start-up between the federal government and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, what is expected is the need for all stakeholders in the project to work for the actualization of the set objectives for the overall interest of national economy. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the federal government has introduced a national agribusiness policy mechanism aimed at transforming the country's food system and fostering a favorable environment for investment in the agricultural sector. Musa Babali reports that the policy was developed in collaboration with sub-national governments and the private sector under the oversight of the Presidential Food System Coordinating Unit within the presidency.
Almost all regions of Nigeria have the potential to produce specific crops to meet the food demands of the country's population. Agricultural economists believe that effective coordination at the federal, state, and local levels can significantly enhance the country's food security and ensure that the food needs of the citizens are met. This understanding led to the establishment of the Presidential Food System Coordinating Unit within the presidency.
The PFSCU's work is focused on food security stabilization, addressing hunger now, boosting food production and productivity.
The audience here includes key players in the food production chain, from policymakers and lawmakers to farmers group and both local and foreign investors.
The NAPM is designed to serve as a unifying platform, one that brings greater coherence to our policies, fosters collaboration across all levels of government, and ensures that data and evidence are at the center of every decision we make.
The NAPM is one of the direct responses to that renewed hope mantra. It aligns squarely with Mr. President's priorities of inclusive economic transformation.
During the event, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the National Agricultural Extension Research License Services at Ahmadu Bello University Zaria and the Presidential Food System Coordinating Unit.
We have developed state-specific policies like our contract farming policy, soybean policy, gender in agriculture policy, and ease of doing business in agriculture strategies.
In Jigawa State, we have invested extensively in building a robust and far-reaching agricultural extension network. It serves as a backbone of our rural economy and stands ready to support deeper engagement with the NAPL.
I believe this mechanism is a great initiative to help boost local production.
These signatures depict the commitment of state governors and other relevant key players in the agricultural sector towards ensuring that the national agribusiness policy mechanism is not only implemented, but the goals are achieved under the theme One Nigeria, Unified Food Policy, Shared Prosperity. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Elsewhere, but still in agriculture, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL Foundation, is targeting to train and empower 6,000 vulnerable farmers across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country in climate-resilient farming techniques. Kelvin Samuel reports that this initiative is part of efforts to improve food security in Nigeria.
Organized by the NNPC Foundation, this initiative, according to the Managing Director, represented by the Executive Director of Programs Development, Bala David, is aimed at empowering vulnerable farmers with the needed knowledge and skills that will translate into food security, economic empowerment, and national development.
This particular one has to do with agriculture, for us to train farmers in order for them to increase their production and to train them and eventually to empower them in several areas.
Some beneficiaries, while appreciating the NNPC Foundation for the laudable initiative, note that it has equipped them with the needed skill for improved yield.
So with this development, it therefore means agriculture or farming will be seen in a greater height, because training the farmers, we have lifted up their development, we have lifted up their position, and more is to be achieved.
So I thank NNPC Limited that God will give them grace to forward this program next time in Akwa Ibom.
They taught us water management in agriculture, how to plant, cultivate during dry season through irrigation.
The program, which comes in two phases, is to cover southeast, south-south, and southwest, north-central, northwest, and northeast. In Uyo, Kevin Samuel, NTA News.
Now, the Nigerian tax reform bills are at the concluding stage of legislation as Senate passes 2 of the 4 bills this Wednesday and schedules the passage of other 2 on Thursday, May 8th, 2025. The 4 tax reform bills have already been passed by the House of Representatives, but had to await concurrence of the Senate. Here's National Assembly correspondent Lamiali with details.
A bill for an act to provide for the assessment, collection of, and accounting for revenue accruing to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the states and local governments prescribe the powers and functions of tax authorities and for related matters, third reading taken.
The legislative journey of the 4 tax reform bills meant to modernize and make more efficient the tax system in Nigeria began in October 2024 at the National Assembly. It was the brainchild of President Bola Tinubu administration and incubated by the Fiscal and Tax Reform Team, finally coming to life after extensive engagements with stakeholders.
The committee also in its wisdom sat with all, had a very robust public hearing and got to where we are now. And thank God all these areas have been, resolved. That's why this is a bit of democracy.
The report of the Senate Committee on Finance highlighted objectives of the tax reforms with a new breakdown of the value-added tax, which over time has been the issue of contention.
The basis of sharing this VAT, which is one of the major issues of this bill.
We all agreed that VAT will be shared based on consumption.
During the clause-by-clause consideration of the Joint Revenue Board Bill and the Nigeria Revenue Service Bill, lawmakers made observations and amendments with regards to appointments, administration and jurisdiction, some of which were adopted.
A warrant issued by the executive vice chairman, approved by the minister, is also subjected to another approval by the National Assembly. That will cause a lot of delay.
Any act or thing done by the service or the board under any of the laws referred to in sub-clause 2 shall not be subject to challenge. It's draconian and obnoxious.
It's draconian, obnoxious, and self-serving.
Yes, sir. 89 up to clause 93. Whether we can establish state internal revenue services for states with their functions, with their management, structures for state revenue services. Can we, under the Constitution, Mr. Chairman, I have my concern?
We cannot.
The Red Chamber has scheduled Thursday, 8 May 2025, for the passage of the Nigeria Tax Administration and the Nigeria Tax Bills, announcing that should there be differences in the bills passed by the House of Representatives, a conference committee would be set up to harmonize and transmit same to the President for assent. In another development, Senator representing Kanu South, Senator Ka Usmaila, has defected from the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, to the All Progressives Congress. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
A ray of hope for cancer patients might just be in the horizon as the House of Representatives passes a resolution seeking financial lifeline for many Nigerians struggling with cancer in form of subsidies for treatment. The House is urging the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to make cancer screening free nationwide as a crucial step towards detecting the disease early when it is most treatable. Let's go over now to National Assembly correspondent Edwin for details of this and other parliamentary engagements.
A motion by Representative Aderemi Oseni draws attention to the fact that the cost of cancer treatment is skyrocketing and the financial burden is heavy on low-income families with cancer patients. By advocating free cancer screening and subsidized treatment, the House hopes to give such families a chance at combating cancer.
The rising burden of cancer is causing a shortage of funding for cancer control, with public financing being considered the most appropriate to ameliorate the suffering of patients with cancer.
Mandate the Committee on Healthcare Services, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare and other relevant agencies, to establish a mechanism for the federal government to provide subsidies for cancer treatments.
Talking about treatment here, I want to add the prayer that federal government should make screening free.
Another resolution sought military action against resurgence of banditry in Baruten Kayama Federal Constituency of Kwara State.
In recent time, certain group of people armed with all manners of dangerous and sophisticated weapons converge in the forest in the constituency, disrupting people from farming, establishing their own government, collecting revenues from people, killing people at will.
Meanwhile, the managing director of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund has denied allegations of irregularities in the disbursement of student loans during an investigative hearing.
Apart from the fact that the statement by the ICPC was unfounded and later confirmed by them that they were unfounded, there were also some inaccuracies in their announcement. Their announcement suggested that we had received 100 billion naira. That figure was wrong. The announcement suggested that 28 billion had been disbursed. That figure was wrong.
At a public hearing on the bill for an act to establish the National Institute for Film and Media Technology, UKAWU, lawmakers are targeting an expansion of the creative sector.
Population of the country, only one film institute is grossly inadequate.
The creative sector is the second largest employer of labor in the country and has the potential to create an additional 2.7 million jobs by 2025.
There is optimism that the progress of the bill would enhance prospects for job creation. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Let's pause here. There's more news after this short break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's take a look at health now as the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, says the Bola Tinubu administration remains committed to transforming Nigeria's health sector through collaborative governance and data-driven strategies. Speaking at the sector-wide approach with North Central and South-Western stakeholders in Abuja, Professor Pate emphasized the importance of unity among stakeholders. He praised state delegations for staying the course in the ongoing performance-based approach to primary health care reform.
That will work together hand in hand. The federal government, states, local governments, pulling in the same direction, alongside our civil society partners who are an important component in our national health system and the private sector, as well as all our development partners. So gradually, we're making a transition from conception, design, and to implementation, and now recalibration based on the performance and what we're learning.
The initiative, backed by the Nigeria Governors Forum and signed by state governors under the leadership of President Tinubu, is now moving from planning to recalibration based on real-time data and results. The minister reiterated the need for adaptation and learning among states, highlighting that population health outcomes can be improved by strengthening routine immunization, skilled birth attendants, and malaria treatment coverage. Now, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, at the 7th edition of the ongoing ministerial press briefing, reaffirmed that the federal government has developed a holistic approach to deal with the dynamics of insecurity and guarantee the safety of lives and property in Nigeria. To fast-track the needed results and sustain successes, he advocated synergy between the civil population and relevant security agencies. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara brings us all the details.
Since the inception of the current administration, the hope of Nigerians has been high and ambitious as the policies of the Renewed Hope agenda. As the custodian of the Renewed Hope document, the Ministry of Information and National Orientation is coordinating this forum where members of the Federal Executive Council present their scorecards within the last 24 months. As he ushered in his colleagues from the Ministries of Environment and Defense, the host minister, in solidarity with his guest, says terrorists or acts of terrorism do not deserve sympathy from the media.
I therefore call on my colleagues, or media professionals and editors, to be discerning in their reportage. We must deny these groups the undue publicity they crave. We must take them off the front pages and accurately report them as the criminals that they are, without glorifying their acts or giving credence to their false narratives. These, of course, are not freedom fighters. They are murderers, kidnappers, and destroyers, and they must be presented as such.
Several ministers have appeared on this platform, which remains active to address the public. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
And still on the ministerial briefing, the Federal Ministry of Environment has demonstrated significant strides in the past 2 years, actively pursuing President Tinubu's mandate for a sustainable climate future. From curbing pollution and championing clean energy to aggressively pursuing afforestation and land restoration, Minister Balarabe Abbas Lawal at the weekly ministerial briefing underscored the ministry's commitment to a healthier environment for all Nigerians. Charles Alpha was there.
This briefing provides an insight into the level of implementation of policies, programs and projects for environmental sustainability, climate resilience and socio-economic development in Nigeria, with contributions from departments, agencies, projects and programs under the Ministry of Environment. Minister of Environment Balarabe Abbas Lawal, while reeling out the strides the ministry has made since inception of the present administration, said the federal government, through the agro-climatic resilience in semi-arid landscapes agriculture, has restored about 178,235 hectares of degraded lands across. It has also, in the last 2 years, and in line with the energy transition drive of the present administration, constructed 4,602 solar streetlights, distributed 6,600 improved super stoves, and 130 solar-powered pumps to discourage deforestation and encourage agroforestry farming, especially in rural communities.
With the Chinese government on energy and green Nigeria in terms of trying to address this issue. And the project has started, which the pilot project is starting in Lekki Peninsula in Lagos. The Chinese are funding it, and once that succeeds, there are 5 ones that will take out in other zones. Already, the Chinese have released some money to it, 1 billion as the preparation effort, and we are there. So this will be the basis for green industrialization of Nigeria. We are doing quite a lot in that area.
The ministry has also secured Federal Executive Council approval to implement the ban on single-use plastics, which it is gradually phasing out, beginning from ministries, departments and agencies of governments and public functions. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, has attributed the successes recorded by the armed forces and other security agencies to continued support from President Bola Tinubu, pledging sustained aggressive action to curtail insecurity through strengthened and strategic joint operations. This was at the 7th ministerial press briefing on the scorecard of the Ministry of Defense. Defense correspondent Olajide Bello reports.
Strengthening national security for peace and prosperity, which is the second priority area of President Bola Tinubu, is the gospel brought by the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, as government's investment in modern equipment, intelligence gathering, and interagency collaboration has begun to yield tangible results.
Our troops have neutralized 13,543 terrorists and criminals, arrested 17,469, and rescued 9,821 hostages, while 124,408 Boko Haram/ISWAP terrorist combatant fighters and their families surrendered.
He also stressed the importance of sustained efforts, assuring Nigerians that the Ministry of Defense, in synergy with other security agencies, remains committed to a relentless onslaught against all forms of insecurity.
At this juncture, let me cast our mind to the fact that tragedy unfolding across Benue, Plateau, Kwara, and other states. Hence, we have initiated several non-kinetic mechanisms to ensure that various parties embrace peace and shun violence as means of settling scores.
The minister reaffirmed the administration's zero tolerance for terrorism, assuring that no safe haven will be allowed for criminals within the country. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
And still talking security, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, is reassuring government and people of Yobe State and the entire northeast sub-region of the military's renewed commitment to countering emerging threats arising from the recent terrorist activities within the northeast theater of operation. The army boss made the commitment when he visited the state following recent operational setbacks in the region. Yunusa Suleiman would give us the update.
Visit to Yobe State by the Army Chief aims to reassure the government and people of the state and the entire northeast sub-region of military's commitment of purpose to defeating terrorism despite recent operational setbacks. The Army Chief informed the state governor that additional troops and platforms will be deployed soon to tackle the threats posed by insurgents.
I think as Nigerians, we need to come together more than ever before to see that we checkmate all this myriad of insecurity. Because if we don't, at some point, we will not have a country to live in. So we need the cooperation of everybody, not only Yobians. We need the cooperation of all Nigerians to bring this menace to an end.
Governor Buni commended the nation's armed forces for their gallantry in keeping the country safe, noting that government is sensitizing residents on the importance of collective security, as security is everybody's business.
And as leaders, our primary responsibility is to secure the people. And security here in Yobe State is our first line of charge, and we cannot sit back to relax. We will work with you, we will support all the security agencies, particularly the military. How I wish the Nigerian Air Force also are here, so that we want to see the synergy, because some of these things need to be confronted with air power.
The Army General is visiting Yobe State for the third time since his appointment as the country's 24th Chief of Army Staff. In the Matru, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
Away from Yobe State now, we head to Jigawa, but remaining with security matters, the Commandant General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Ahmed Abubakar Audi, has reaffirmed the Corps' commitment to strengthen national security during an operational tour of NSCDC formations in Jigawa State. Muhammad Musa Askira reports that this was at the government house in Dutse, where the Commandant General told Governor Umar Namadi that his visit was part of a nationwide effort to assess field operations identify challenges and chart a path forward in tackling emerging security threats in the country.
The Commandant General, Dr. Ahmed Abubakar Audi, is on a mission and operational tour of all NSCDC's formations across Nigeria, including Jigawa State. His goal is to assess frontline operations, engage directly with personnel, and craft strategic responses to the challenges confronting the Corps. Dr. Audi noted that Nigeria is grappling with an asymmetric conflict, unconventional and complex, similar to what has destabilized other nations around the world. To meet this challenge, he says, the NSCDC has ensured its personnel are trained by all major security agencies in the country. While in Jigawa State, the CG expressed deep appreciation to Governor Umar Namadi for the state's continuous support to the Corps. He assured that the NSCDC will continue to work closely with the state government to ensure the safety and well-being of residents. The governor praised the strong synergy between the NSCDC and other security agencies in Jigawa State, describing it as a model for effective interagency cooperation in safeguarding lives and property of the citizens.
The revenue profile of the nation have risen because prior to the activities, the revenue base, according to statistics from the Solid Minerals Ministry, it was around 3.something billion. But now, just within 1 year of the operation, we now realize that royalty has gone up to about 6.9 billion. So I think there is an improvement, and then it shows that the mining marshals are very effective and they are working. Like I told you, they have closed down over 1,000 illegal mining sites, of course, nationwide, because we have them all nationwide.
One important thing with the security agencies is the synergy. As long as all of them will work in synergy, then they will certainly achieve result. So, and I think I can say without fear of contradiction, that members of the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps in Jigawa State are good team players.
As the NSCDC intensifies its efforts across the country, the message is clear. No stone will be left unturned in the quest for a safer and more secure Nigeria. From Duty, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
We head to the courtroom now, where the prosecution counsel, Adegboyega Awumulu, SEN, leading his second witness in evidence in chief at the continuation of alleged terrorism acts against the leader of the proscribed IPOB, tendered documents and audio-visual materials before the Federal High Court, Abuja, which were admitted in evidence. Judiciary correspondent Austin Ayebe reports that some of the audio-visual materials were played in court.
Being led in evidence, the prosecution witness identified a certified true copy of the letter written by the then Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, to the Department of State Service, directing it to investigate the defendant. The letter was tendered and admitted as an exhibit. The witness read the content of the letter from the Attorney General of the Federation, where he listed several alleged acts of terrorism against Nigeria. These acts include arson, kidnapping, killing of security personnel, and an attack on public infrastructure, among others. The letter alleged the leader of the proscribed IPOB of using the unlicensed Radio Biafra to instigate members of the public against the security personnel using unprintable names to describe Nigeria. The second prosecution witness, by name BBB, said it was the content of the letter that prompted the investigation. He told the court that upon his arrest, personnel of the DSS interacted with him for about an hour, asked him to write a statement which he declined, saying he had told them all they needed to hear. A statement form was thereafter given to him, carrying his details, which he signed. The statement was admitted in evidence and read to the hearing of everyone by the witness. The prosecution counsel proceeded to tender a flash drive containing audiovisual broadcast by the defendant. The drive was admitted in evidence, even though its admissibility was objected to by the defense counsel, Emeka Etiaba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. The prosecution counsel applied for the audiovisual flash drive containing the broadcast to be played, which was granted. In the broadcast, the defendant was seen giving a charge to members of the Eastern Security Network, urging them to protect and defend the lands of the Biafra against people who have been killing them. He decried the alleged killing of Biafra since the Civil War and vowed not to allow that again. In another broadcast streamed live, he was heard charging protesters to go after security personnel and attack public infrastructure. He instructed his followers to go after some prominent Nigerians in a corridor of power, with him placing ransom on one of them. The broadcast, where he ordered lockdown and closure of banks, churches and schools in the East, was also played in court. The federal government gazette proscribing IPOP was equally tendered and admitted in evidence. From the Federal High Court, Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
And away from the courtroom now, let's turn our attention to the education sector. Just imagine a university system with 24 hours power supply and students can read whenever they like. Laboratories and libraries fully functional. This is what the Nigerian government is doing through its Energizing education program by establishing solar power plants in all federal universities. Nnamdi gives us more of this cheering news.
The Energizing education program is driven by the quest to minimize overdependence on the use of fossil fuel, reduce carbon emissions, thereby providing reliable and sustainable renewable energy solutions within the educational and health sectors. This is not just about lighting up the institutions, but also an opportunity to diversify income sources and employment opportunities through hands-on training in renewable energy technologies for the communities.
It has had a good reduction on our wage bill. We substitute, particularly during exam times.
To have stable energy, it means you will have a conducive environment for teaching, learning, and research.
In total, so far, we have impacted over 600,000 students, over 50,000 both academic staff, and also generating over 100 megawatts of electricity in our tertiary institutions.
It will create a different business value chain within the campus. If you look at it, any campus is a community by itself. You now have 24-hour supply. You've really unleashed the capacity, the high economic activity that you see.
Already, 24 universities are benefiting from the program, and with the signing of this agreement by Vice Chancellors of 8 universities, the Rural Electrification Agency, National Universities Commission, and the Federal Ministry of Education, the impact seems to be spreading as expected. In Abuja, Nnamdi, NTA News.
Everybody can dream big, but realizing that dream without taking adequate steps may hamper it. Now, this informs members of the Senior Executive Course 44 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, retreat on how some realized landmark policies of Nigeria can be effectively implemented through contributions from the citizens. Annie Daniels will take us through this.
The serene environment of Zuma Resort in Niger State played host to some members of Senior Executive Course 44 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru Plateau State. It was indeed a great reunion after not seeing themselves for about 2 years. It's now time to keep fit, which is required by all, no matter your weight. The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies was established as a think tank, bringing in leaders with integrity.
So the people you see here are not here because they are rich. They are here because they want to make this sacrifice to make Nigeria a better place in their own group.
Senior Executive Course 44 at the National Institute of Policy and Strategy Studies 2022 focused on strengthening local governance. We looked at the challenges, we looked at the options, and we looked at the opportunities that exist.
We want to use the opportunity to thank Mr. President for being able to implement some of our recommendations. They've been able to give financial autonomy and administrative autonomy to the local government chairman.
And coincidentally, I'm the only female monitor general in the history of NIPS. So I think we need more inclusivity, more women, in that even in the courses also you see the numbers are not actually balanced. Some institutions would always send men.
With the theme, Celebrating Our Heritage, Embracing Our Future, members of the Nigerian Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies are optimistic that with all hands on deck, the dream of building a new Nigeria will soon become a reality.
NIPS has produced a lot of experts. Government needs to engage them to be able to assist, even if it's not on the tactical level, on the strategy level. Bring them together and ask questions, what do we do?
So we should cut across this and relate with people for whom they are, what they are to bring on the table, what value addition they are to bring to the nation, and not where people come from.
And that is why it's important to have a level of self-awareness, to manage your mental health, manage your relationships, and practice self-care. Because whether we like it or not, effective leadership can be impaired with how you think.
What is remaining is for us to make efforts, like he said, to engage each other.
The Director News, NTA, Halima Musa led other members to present awards to deserving guests and House 44 participants. From Suleja in Niger State, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
And the break is due. Please remain tuned. Many thanks for remaining with us. Let's now talk politics, as the National Caretaker Committee of the Labour Party says having exhausted all means of dialogue to resolve issues with the National Working Committee of the party without any meaningful results, it's left with no option than to take over the leadership of the party in line with the judgment of the Supreme Court. The NCC has therefore set up a panel to investigate the Julius Abure-led National Working Committee with a view to unraveling the alleged mismanagement of party funds by the chairman addressing a news conference in Abuja. The chairman of the National Caretaker Committee, Senator Nnamdi Usman, announced the senator representing FCT, Ireti Kingigbe, as the chairman of the panel with former Kogi East senatorial candidates of the party, Peter Ame, as secretary. The NCC chairman disclosed that modalities for the conduct of congresses for the party across the country are already in motion and urged all stakeholders to support her leadership to reposition the party.
Corruption, financial misappropriation, abuse of office and anti-party activities leveled against Barrister Julius Abure during his tenure as national chairman. 2. Examine all available evidence and summon any individual or individuals deemed relevant to the investigation.
Let's not start playing politics. Politics is not rascality. These are two different things. And there should be a reasonable minimum in every setting we find ourselves in the society. And one of it is that we must have a standard we have set across board, whether it's APC, PDP, Labour Party, or whatever. There should be an irreducible minimum. And the irreducible minimum which we want to entrench is that there must be party discipline.
Meanwhile, the Julius Abure-led National Working Committee has suspended Abia State Governor Alex Oti, Senator representing FCT Ireti Kingibe, and Secretary of the National Caretaker Committee, Senator Darlington Nwokota, from the party. A statement by the National Secretary of the party, Umar Farouk Ibrahim, says the suspension follows recommendations by the panel set up to investigate allegations of anti-party activities against the members. Others also suspended are Victor Afam Ogene, Amobi Oga, and Sheyi Showumi, who are members of the House of Representatives. The statement further stated that Senator Nnamdi Usman is not included in the list as she is not a registered member of the party. And away from political matters, beyond the immediate devastation of floods, fire and accidents, lies a less visible crisis: the vulnerability of persons with disabilities. Persons that live with disabilities often face more challenges in times of emergencies, while the physically fit scramble for safety. This group faces unique and often insurmountable hurdles. How do they survive when disaster strikes? Charles Alpha, we offer vital insights into their experiences.
For Ifani, a visually impaired young man since age 11, the rains bring not just relief from the heat, but a severe anxiety and memories of harrowing fire experiences where he barely escaped.
There the fire now, the thing flamed. So the fire was more. Everybody left the hostel, and I was the hostel captain. So some even flew through the window.
Imagine a blind person disoriented after a car crash, unable to assess their surroundings or called for help. Or consider someone with an intellectual disability, struggling to understand instructions from first responders. These scenarios underscore the critical need for emergency response for this set of people.
People with disabilities are among the most affected when climate change-induced crises happen.
Think of when there is flooding, think of when there is environmental degradation and things like that. What happens to this set of women?
Floods increasingly presents a unique set of obstacles. Fire poses heightened risk, while impaired people struggle to navigate smoke-filled environments, and those with mobility issues may be unable to escape quickly. Deaf individuals may not hear alarms, the shadow of discrimination, and the weight of legislation when it comes to implementation are a concern.
Addressing climate change impact is all about inclusivity, is more inclusivity. How do we build the resilience of the most vulnerable groups?
Equipping people with disabilities to deal with emergencies, Ifeanyi and Confidence say, requires the involvement of people like them.
They need a proper environment, a secured environment, because these people can't run if some accident or some emergency happened.
You are living with persons with disability as your neighbor. Please don't discriminate against them. You can check on them. Some people find it difficult to talk to us.
By prioritizing accessibility, fostering inclusivity and empowering people with disabilities, Nigeria can move towards a future where everyone, regardless of their abilities, has an equal chance of safety and survival during time of crisis. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Indeed, well said, Charles. And many thanks for that report. Now, the federal government has commenced the implementation phase of its economic and financial inclusion strategy aimed at improving access to economic opportunities for Nigerians. To this end, government has established an interagency task force to address challenges delaying President Tinubu's approved conditional cash transfers to 15 million vulnerable households. At the inaugural meeting of the Technical Committee of the Presidential Committee on Economic and Financial Inclusion, Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Hassan Hadejia, explained that the meeting brought together high-level stakeholders from government agencies, financial institutions and academia to align on the President's vision and execution roadmap.
The financial inclusion goes beyond having a bank account. You know, it really speaks to providing quality financial services, access to credit, and the visibility that a digital platform will give. You know what these people are doing from the cash transfer perspective. Yes, even having an account and giving people unconditional cash grants over 2 years might do something for their livelihood. But I don't think that's the answer.
There are challenges around NIN number, for those people who are affected, So there were a lot of deliberations were done. So at the end of the day, a committee, interagency committee, was set up in order to ensure that we unlock those challenges and ensure immediate disbursement of those conditional cash transfer funds to the vulnerable and poor Nigerians.
It is important to be able to lift Nigerians out of poverty. And one of the beauties of the NIN is that it bridges that financial divide, and it ensures that once any citizen has their NIN, they're able to have easy access to government services.
We need to deliver key, implementable and visible results for the lower end of the market. So the financial inclusion and, in addition, the economic inclusion is very important to achieving the mandate.
Economic and financial inclusion is every Nigerian's problem. How do we bring the collective wisdom in the House to ensure that we get to the last mile?
Correspondent Edwin reports that the meeting also endorsed steps to work with state governments in localizing data to financial services survey, a biannual study conducted towards enhancing financial innovation and access in Nigeria. Looking at other matters now, once upon a time in Awka, the Anambra State capital, mentally challenged persons littered the city center, a growing concern that made the state government to take them off the streets for rehabilitation. The menace is gradually resurfacing in most parts of the metropolis. Onome Okadibo in this report sought to know how this menace can be checked.
The rising cases of mental disorder among youths is a growing concern, with illicit drugs as a major contributing factor. It is essential to approach addiction with compassion and understanding.
Parents can even accept that, okay, my son, you've made a mistake. I know it's a mistake. You are not above mistake. Come, let's find a solution to this your mistake. That way we'll bring our children closer to us.
Agencies, okay, like Nnamdi, all these things will gear up, okay, to center the society, you see, by employing all measures to curtail all drug abuse.
Medical experts say some mental disorders among the youth can be attributed to dysfunctional family environment, peer group influence, poor socioeconomic status.
These substances has a way of stimulating the brain into overactivity, such as depression, such as anxiety, such as psychosis.
The Commissioner for Women Affairs, Anambra State, said the state government has taken some measures to curb this menace.
Anytime we see them, we'll try as much as we can to take them away, get them to NTA, where we do take care of them.
Addressing the root causes of substance abuse and providing support for those affected can help mitigate this growing concern. In Awka, Onome Okadibo, NTA News.
Let's pause a bit. More news in a short while. Thank you for staying with us. May 8th every year is set aside the world over to commemorate World Red Cross Day, with activities geared towards improving the lives of the underprivileged in the society. Deborah Bala-Bubu reports.
The theme for this year's celebration focuses on keeping humanity alive by giving back to society. So, the Red Cross volunteers and some members of the public presented themselves for blood donation for health facilities.
If I have it enough, why don't I just help somebody?
It's now a lifestyle for me because I find out that I am very healthy.
So this is very important to help save life because a lot of casualties end up needing blood when they have accidents.
The theme recognizes the need for kindness amidst chaos, exemplified by Red Cross team's commitment operating in high-risk zones to deliver medical aid, food, shelter and comfort to victims of flooding and armed conflicts.
Specifically today, we're partnering with National Blood Service Agency, where our Red Cross volunteers are donating just to emphasize that humanity gesture that they have.
The Red Cross Red Crescent movement, it's a day to celebrate our volunteers. It's a day to show empathy to the world. It's a day to display that we are here for those who are in need, for the vulnerable individuals, for vulnerable communities.
Wherever things are happening, there's human suffering, we are there to alleviate pain, really.
As they say, the World Red Cross Day is more than a date on the calendar, but a global reminder that humanity must always come first. In Abuja, Deborah Balagubo, NTA News.
As part of its renewed hope agenda, the federal government has handed over a water project to the Yobe state government at Gashua, the headquarters of Bade local government area, a place that has recorded more cases of kidney disease over the years. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsev, who performed the ceremony, says the water plant, which cost over 5 billion naira, has the capacity to provide 3,200 liters of water per day. Adam Yusuf Ali reports.
good news come the way of Gashua residents in Yobe State after battling with decades of water scarcity as federal government successfully completed water plants with 3,200 liters capacity. Inaugurating the facility, the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Sef, reveals that a total sum of 5,700 billion naira were expended to provide drinking water to over 1 million residents of Gashua and its environs.
This project is part of the federal government efforts to address the water supply challenges facing communities across our country, especially in Gashua town, which over the years has subjected most of the populace to frequent medical challenges.
Water project that is going to serve the community that has been lacking in such a facility for such a long time.
The President of the 9th Senate and Senator representing Yobe North at the National Assembly, Senator Ahmed Lawan, revealed that the project will also mitigate the affliction of kidney disease in the area that may be associated to unclean water.
The state government is taking over, and by the grace of God, because water and sanitation is also a priority in Yobe State. Next is the signing of the document signifying the handing and taking over of the project by the Yobe State government, as well as inspecting of the water facility in Damaturu. Adam Yusuf Ali, NTA News.
Let's talk sports now, and Badi Adeleye is here. Badi.
All right, let's begin with the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations, where the Flying Eagles of Nigeria have booked a place in the quarterfinals of the competition in Egypt after a thrilling 2-2 draw with the Rising Stars of Kenya. The Flying Eagles conceded a 7th-minute penalty converted by Kevin Njeyo, only for Nathaniel Aniel to level things 4 minutes later for Nigeria. The Rising Stars still went ahead in the 68th minute through William Gitamo. It took a 73rd minute penalty converted by the captain Daniel Bamei to earn a draw for the Flying Eagles, who finished Group B with 5 points in second position behind Morocco, who thrashed Tunisia 3-1 to finish top of the group with 7 points. Now, we're right at the business end of the 2024-2025 Nigeria Premier Football League season as fight for continental football intensifies. Rivers United look to have cemented their place in the top 4 with a 1-0 victory against Enugu Rangers to place them in second spot behind champions Remo Stars, who lost 2-0 to Academy Warriors. In Aba, Brown Ideye scored a brace as the People's Elephants beat Kwara United 2-0 to keep them in contention for continental football. In Owerri, Heartland boosted their chances of playing top-flight football next season with a deserved win against Plateau United. Despite sharing the spoils with Niger Tornadoes in a 1-0 draw, Abia Warriors are well placed for a top 4 finish. And away from Nigeria to Europe, where PSG will face Inter Milan in the Champions League final as the French Giants beat Arsenal 3-1 on aggregate in the second leg semi-final clash. Fabio Ruiz fired the home team in front in the 27th minute despite Arsenal's lightning start. Achraf Hakimi produced a superb finish to put the game to bed, with Bukayo Saka getting the consolation goal for Arsenal. Well, Arsenal-Barcelona Champions League final won't happen. That does it on Sports Tonight. Let's return to the area.
Many thanks, Buddy. Now, an egalitarian society that promotes inclusion and true federalism as designed by the late elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark should be the primary objective of government at all levels to achieve the Nigeria envisioned by the nation's founding fathers. Joel Pokuola reports that this came to the fore at an evening of tribute to celebrate the life and ideals of the Ijaw leader.
Lagos is very instrumental in the political career of the late Chief Edwin Clark, having lived a significant part of his life in the state when he was Federal Commissioner in charge of education and later as Senator in 1983. This service of tribute is not to mourn but celebrates his copious contributions to the nation and thank God for its exemplary life. Members of the Patriots, the Ohaneze Indigbo and various groups from the Niger Delta and other parts of the country all extolled the ideals of the late nationalist.
that Chief Clark was a Democrat. He believed in democracy.
Many times he speak out on behalf of we, the minorities in the Middle Belt. I therefore stand here on behalf of all my brothers and sisters down in the Middle Belt to share in this moment of great loss.
His wife, Abisola Shodipo Clark, Prince Fafadam Prince Will, and many others who spoke on his desire for true federalism lauded him for always being on the side of the truth.
When you look at the situation in Nigeria today, everybody is talking about true federalism. The whole essence is that we should have good governance.
Edwin Clark was actually courage personified, and it's something, courage, not just courage, courage in making sacrifices, for what he believed in.
Pastor Itua Igudalo of Trinity House Church in his sermon urged government at all levels to always prioritize the well-being of the people. Late Chief Edwin Clark died on February 17, 2025 at the age of 97. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
That's our package on News Extra tonight. Many thanks for being a part of it. We do sincerely appreciate you. Have a great night.